So it has a wonderful area where you can do some proxy Reaper stuff or something like that. Anyway, here we are in the top left side. The red Terran from the Team Liquid. He is KELAZHUR.
Bottom right, in the blue, it's Cure, and he's from DPG. Currently on the ropes, 3-1 down. They probably expected Dark there to get that 2-0 to tie him up, but Hearthstone pulls it out, and now you have the battle of people with very, very dark cameras, as both of them.
Yeah.
Whatever's comfortable for them. You know, as always, it's about the player comfort. Both of them just sitting in their little dark area.
Both in the dark room. I mean, it worked out for... well, it didn't really work out for Dark. It worked out for Dark one time, but... Anyway. Here we
Reminds me of Maru, when you see his camera. He's always like, either it's like really well lit, or it's just sitting there with his little sweatshirt on. He's in his chair.
Just chilling. Just chilling.
Yeah. It's funny because I think Zest has like the brightest room out of any pro. Like if you ever watch Zest streams, or you when he does like put on the face cam when he's feeling like it, his room is like just white. It is all white. It is like massive windows. It is so bright. It's kind of insane.
By the way, do you know what time it would be for Brazil, and if KELAZHUR is even in Brazil at the moment?
I don't know if he's in Brazil at the moment, but I imagine it would be similar to my time, because that's around the East Coast
All right.
time zone. I think roundabout. I imagine it. I think it's hour or 2 ahead, or 3 hours ahead or so.
Okay.
So it's probably around midday for him. I imagine.
All right. Surprised that it's that dark then. You know. Nice.
I mean, it just drew the blinds, you know.
Yeah, probably.
Keep the gaming habitat nice and ready, but surprisingly here, KELAZHUR is actually the one going for the early CC on the low ground, and you have Cure just opting for the faster factory. He's going to be going for the 3 Reapers, 2 Hellions, so going to be trying to get a bit more of that early damage. But with just with this how this map plays out, as long as KELAZHUR doesn't mess up any of his micro, he should be able to defend this perfectly fine, and he shouldn't really take too much damage.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope it works out for that, like that, for him.
You seem a bit skeptical.
Well, you know, we'll see. It should be okay. Yeah, I think you're right. This bunker, Blammo. Yeah, it's all fine. Hellion or no, not a Reaper finishing up here. Yeah, just a regular bit of TVT. Most likely we're going to see the siege tanks coming in pretty soon, right? And then as soon as those siege tanks are up, becomes a bit difficult to really push into your opponent. Sometimes you see the move out to try and keep your opponent from mining in the 3rd base, right? So I'm kind of thinking that unless if we have medevac drops or something like that, we may not see too much aggression or too much movement out of these two.
I think Cure here is going to be going for that 1 Widow Mine with a few Marines. This is just, you try and hit into the natural base, the Widow Mine gets a lot of splash off, and then you have the Marines to pick off a few SCVs while you're pushing the front with your 2 Reapers and a Hellion, just trying to get in there and see if you can get some damage at the natural. So I do like this, but you have the Cyclone on the way for both sides afterwards. So, I think both of them just going to be heading this into the 2-base set and then getting up your 3rd base, getting up your stim, going into bio. Which is, of course, probably the best to go on this map is, yep, there's the push out. Actually, with the 2 Reapers as well for Cure. Didn't have enough Marines, so just going to push out with that. Interesting. It has potential to get damage done, especially if KELAZHUR pushes out with the Cyclone and his little scouting force there, but as long as he stays home, he shouldn't take too much damage. But nope, he's going across the map, so we'll see how much damage this gets done for Cure.
Still somewhat close by, but yeah, not gonna have vision of this drop coming in. Widow Mine decides to get close to the SCV line here as well. Still a difficult thing to take out. Nice lock onto the medevac, does lose track of it though. No pickup on the Marine that got locked onto. And 3 SCVs go down. Ooh.
Decent.
Yeah. That's alright. It's alright. Keeps a lot of those Marines, the Reapers, and the medevac alive as well, right? moving back, we'll be able to group that up with the next assault if he does want to.
As we're just seeing, I mean, both players getting into their tanks. KELAZHUR did commit there to two Cyclones. Usually you only see the one, but it's not a massive difference. It does just mean you're going to have, I believe, slightly less. You're just going to be slightly behind on the tank production, which won't matter, you know, a massive amount. It's not going to make the biggest difference in the world. Of course, earlier on it will, but as you get later into the game, as you get up your third bases, as Cure is getting his third CC on the way, KELAZHUR actually falling behind in that aspect. Has opted for the earlier stim instead.
So you were saying Cure has the double Cyclones?
KELAZHUR.
KELAZHUR. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so KELAZHUR being okay, well, he keeps them both kind of at the front. I thought it would be Cure kind of taking the double Cyclone, you know, just to be safe against a drop, because that is kind of how I think he could lose to KELAZHUR, by being caught off guard. But yeah, just siege tanks, good too.
Yeah, and of course he will have that earlier third. KELAZHUR actually, does he even have a third base that he's building? It just feels like he's going straight, just, yeah, Marines, Stim, Edivac's gonna go for a drop. He finally puts it down, but he's really going to try and, I guess, do some damage here with this army. I don't know how much it will get done. Because, I mean, again, Cure just does have that higher tank count, has a Raven as well, has 2 Ravens. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if just the straight bio here from KELAZHUR is enough to really fight this.
That is so rough. Cure just managed to move entirely across the map without a single unit spotting this, and that means that KELAZHUR will have to abandon the third base. Even a great siege up position now for Cure. Kind of force KELAZHUR to either give up his reactor, some of those supply depots as well, most likely. This is very rough. What is he doing with that Raven?
Not sure, but he did snipe off one other one with his Cyclone. Marine drop in the back, not getting any kills yet, but it should start to stack up as a lot of those SCVs are in red hit points, but none of them go down. KELAZHUR not taking too much damage, but his CC was delayed. Cure behind this is getting his third base onto site. It's also getting at more barracks. He's getting at his stim. KELAZHUR's just going for it with the Marines.
No
I mean, yeah, I don't really know if this works out. Just is not able to do it. I mean, the tanks do too much, and now the Raven with an auto turret will clean up KELAZHUR's tanks. GG. Or takes game 1.
Yeah, quick victory there for Cure. I mean, that was just wonderful stuff. I thought KELAZHUR was gonna try to do something like that, right? He delayed his third base a little bit more. Might also be because of that second Cyclone, right? Means you have less siege tanks, means that it's less safe for you to push out towards that third base a bit sooner in order to establish your territory there. But yeah, overall you can still build it in the main base as well, just as much. So a bit surprised that KELAZHUR decided to stay defensive. It might just be that he's, you know, up against Cure and he doesn't quite feel as comfortable in that situation. So he might just be in his own mind as well, just being like, all right, well, I need to make sure not to die against this, and this. And then, you know, all of a sudden he's just behind, and that's just a siege tank positioning in a really good position against this third base.
Yeah, I mean, Cure just got the push, had the 2 Ravens to 1, got the interference matrix on the first one. Actually had a second one. His Raven did get picked off one of them, but didn't end up really mattering at all as we head on to Oxide for our match, or for game number 2. KELAZHUR, he has to win this, or else it's going to be going to that ace match. Of course, for Team Liquid, you know, you can just send out Clem again in that situation, which is probably what they're going to be ending up doing, but then you obviously run the risk of Cure facing Clem in a TVT where you just 2-0'd KELAZHUR.
Yeah, I mean, TVT always used to be the weakest matchup of Clem. It might still ring true, because just overall the practice that he gets, of course, against Zergs and against Protoss might just be a bit higher caliber. If he was in Korea, maybe TVT would be his best matchup, right? But here we go. In the top right side, we have a pause requested. Not central now.
Oh, looks like they might have gotten the server wrong. They stayed. I think they probably stayed on the west twice by accident. So
they might have anticipated him still being in Brazil, but yeah, apparently he's in Europe. He travels around a lot.
Yeah,
that
makes sense then. Why it's a bit darker there.
He's an unofficial Dutchman as well. We've kind of made him part of the Dutch culture as well, though. Because he stayed there for so long, and he showed up at a lot of Dutch offline events, you know, small StarCraft 2 things, and just having a good time with everybody. He was allowed to play in the Dutch StarCraft League as well.
Okay, yeah. So he's pretty much one of you guys.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to be rebanking that onto Central, which should favor KELAZHUR a little bit. You know, the last one on West, so Kira had the slight ping advantage. Again, it's not a massive amount because you're still playing on the US servers, so both of them are going over, you know, an entire sea to get there, but we'll have to see. Oxide, again, another map. This one a lot bigger, a lot less, the attack path is, you know, a lot longer. So I'm not sure. We might see KELAZHUR try and go for something similar again, where it's just earlier natural base on the low ground. Of course, I think, and on Oxide, that's very safe to do. As into the bottom left, you have your red Terran KELAZHUR.
On the top right side, the Dragon, the Phoenix, the Gamer. Here's the blue Terran, Cure.
Nice. I might have to adopt that.
Yeah, it's a fun one to say. Or you can also put it like, fighting for all the dragons, the Phoenix, and gamers in the world.
I mean, technically, I think for DPG, like, they're Dragon Phoenix Gaming, so wouldn't you call their team members the Dragon Phoenix Gamers?
Oh.
Would that not be what they would be called?
I think that would make more sense, but overall, on a comedic value point of view, I think it would be more funny if they refer to it as like a separate dragon and a separate phoenix together, grouping up as a team.
Maybe yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're just like I know they're just gamers. No, they're not actually, you know, they're not dragons or phoenixes. They're just gamers. It's just a team name.
Maybe,
but. But yes, at least, you know, start this game. You do have the double gas from Cure and from KELAZHUR, both players just playing this out as standard as possible. No cheese, no proxies or anything like that, as there is the ever looming threat of that ace match and us going right up until lunchtime, which will be very, very nice for me, as it's, you know, right around 11. So I'll get done with this. I'll go eat myself some lunch and then do schoolwork.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit, you know, famished myself. It's, what, 4 hours of casting so far. I did manage to, you know, squeeze in a small breakfast before this started, but, yeah.
You did better than me.
Right now I'm like, oh, I wish I had a bigger breakfast.
Yeah. Like, I wish this wasn't at 7 a.m. for me. I would have loved to eat, you know, eggs or something.
Yeah.
Would have been great.
Oh, that would have been nice.
As it is now, you know, just looking at it, we have, I think, as stock standard openings as you get, both players going for the exact same build. Like, legit, the exact same build. It is double gas off of your barracks into your factory, into 2 Reapers and a Hellion. You're going to get up your supply depot and then the starport. It's so, you know, identical. This is your standard TVT opening. The only real variance we'll probably get is after that to see, all right, do you know, are we going to see any mech? Probably not. Both these players are very, very comfortable with bio. But the next question is, what do you do as, you know, a follow-up? Because, you know, in TVT, the meta has kind of shifted towards, all right, you just try and get some damage done to your opponent. You know, you try and mix in, you know, like this Widow Mine with some Marines or something. Just to try and get something to slow down your opponent.
Yeah, TVT I think as well is a lot about like when you get that third base, you want to get it in front of your opponent, right? Just be a little bit more greedy, but there's always the threat of just being too greedy and suddenly your opponent, oh wait, he just has 2 more siege tanks than me, and now, yeah, I'm boned. All right, well, that could just happen as well, and you want to try to avoid those situations. But yeah, I'm hoping to see KELAZHUR here maybe getting himself that third base a little bit quicker than he did the previous game.
Widowmine gets rid of the Hellion, but still might be enough here for Cure as he picks off a Reaper. Gonna try and pick off one more, doesn't end up getting it. Turns back around, and a short little trade there ends up, I think, being better for KELAZHUR. Gets more of it, gets rid of 2 Reapers and a Hellion. Now you have both players progressing into their Raven, into their Cyclone. Only difference here, you have KELAZHUR once again going into that extra barracks, preferring to get that early stim, and we should see, probably, I imagine Cure probably going to just head into, once again, that earlier 3rd CC.
Yeah, it could very well happen here. That could be problematic, although to be fair, the 3rd base didn't really come into play all that much for Cure the previous game. It was just that he came across with all those siege tanks and just had a very good sieged up position, right? Forced KELAZHUR to push into him, and yeah, there was just no way KELAZHUR could do that at that point in time. I guess he could have tried to stay back, right? He could have tried to not push into there, just sacrifice the supply depots and stuff like that as well, but I mean, he had called in extra supply as well, even on one of those supply depots, so that is a little bit of extra money that you're losing there, and I can get why you wouldn't want, you know, that type of deficit starting off a game in a mirror matchup against somebody like Cure.
His timing, though, should be a bit better for KELAZHUR. He actually had his stim up. He got his stim a lot quicker in this game because he didn't opt for the 3rd barracks on top of it. So he should be able to hit a sharper timing if that's what he's looking for, because meanwhile Cure, you know, he started his CC 10-20 seconds after the stim started. So for KELAZHUR, I do like this timing a bit better. You know, it's not going to be as heavy on the Marines, but it's just going to be a lot sharper, and he should be able to get up his own CC in decent time behind it. Should be popping that down fairly soon.
Yeah, it's going to be an opportunity here that is very slim and not all that massive for KELAZHUR. Does he get those Marines somewhere where there's no siege tank shooting them? Will he be that quick enough before that stim pack finishes up for Cure?
Where? Okay, KELAZHUR, where's your 3rd CC?
Yeah.
This is
delaying it.
The point. Yeah, he could have put it down a while ago and like gotten it soon enough that it wouldn't be terrible, but yeah, this is very, very delayed now because Cure already has started on his orbital command. He'll have it down before KELAZHUR as auto turret down there. Yeah, the camera just a little bit off, but the auto turret dropped down. No pull. Actually, 6 SCVs going down. A few Marines. That's a pretty big grab there for Cure. A little bit of Takas. Looks like the Cyclone got picked off for KELAZHUR as well, and oh my.
Yep. All right, here we go. This could work.
You talked about the Doom Drop. You talked about the Doom Drop before, and
yeah,
KELAZHUR absolutely not afraid to do it. It's not for full, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah, so that's the Raven here as well, right? So if he gets a good interference matrix on that one siege tank there, this could be very big. I'm not sure what the Raven situation is like for Cure right now, since he just used a lot of energy on those auto turrets. Looks like he still has a little bit. But yeah, this is gonna be it's gonna be nasty if he doesn't manage to clean this up, of course. Is he gonna try to, or is he just gonna be okay with the fact that he has a 3rd base soon?
Yeah, still another interference matrix available for KELAZHUR. It's actually Liberators have been produced for Cure. Very, very interesting, as you normally don't see that getting built as, oh, that medevac stepped too far forward. That's a huge hit. Cure will be able to retake this. But yeah, the Liberators actually, I'm surprised that he built those, but turning out quite well as he manages to push back the tanks and get KELAZHUR to pick up.
Yeah, well done there. Could have tried some Vikings as well, right? I suppose force those medevacs back and then really put KELAZHUR in a weird position where either you pick up again or you just leave those units there until the inevitable push out of Cure that will just kill them. But KELAZHUR here, I mean, he's still 60 army supply versus 46. He's trying to move out again. He has his 3rd base established right now. He's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think this is a much better position and more what he wanted out of this opening, where he's not that far behind on upgrades. They're equal on the combat shields, but his base doesn't go down much later than Cure's. And also, he does just have more tanks. He's just going to stim up double interference matrix. KELAZHUR going for the throat. More tanks on the high ground from Cure. I don't know if Cure can hold this. The SCV pull, I mean, it's 5 tanks from KELAZHUR. That's so many SCVs down. the same time, a Liberator in KELAZHUR's base getting, I think, 12 SCV's kills on top of that, but that was a huge trade for our Brazilian Terran, as the ended Vikings are going to be able to clean this up, and at the end of the day, somehow it is completely even.
What did we see? Well, I mean, there is 46 workers versus 24. But KELAZHUR does have the army advantage now, so all of a sudden he's in a position where he might be able to push across the map and do something similar to KELAZHUR. Oh, still has those Liberators as well.
Oh my, this Liberator's getting so much value. It has so many kills.
Yep.
Like an 18 kill Liberator right there.
He needs a medallion, that boy. Couple more of those siege tanks are going to be necessary. The medevac is that. There's, when he moves out with that other medevac, I don't know. Does he even want to move out? You must know that. That was quite a bit of damage you took, right?
Yeah, I think both players realizing that they took a lot. I mean, KELAZHUR hasn't landed his third base. He's been just using it to replenish on his natural.
Yeah.
And for that attack for KELAZHUR, I wouldn't have minded it if he had also picked up some of his Marines to drop them onto the tanks at first, because he did take 2 shells from those tanks before the interference matrix went off, which I think is why his ground army, or that kind of buffer, that Marine buffer around the tanks, ended up kind of dying away, leaving the tanks alone. And it's just like a small little thing like that, meaning that the tanks get cleaned up, and he doesn't manage to snipe that natural base. And now KELAZHUR does have the much larger army going for the double drop into the main, and there's nothing here. KELAZHUR not able to scout it out. Should also get a lot more damage done. So many SCVs being killed, but KELAZHUR still has the worker lead. We also have the frontal push coming out from KELAZHUR. This might be a 2-pronged attack. This might be enough to break through KELAZHUR. We'll have to see if the scan is there. There's 3 tanks at the third base. It throws down a scan, and he's going to send forward the Liberators. Drop onto the tanks. 1 tank getting cleaned up. Another one not going to get off its shells. KELAZHUR might just be able to win with this push. I mean, again, he just had more army off of that trade, and of course, you know, the third base isn't necessary here for KELAZHUR. He still, you know, had that up longer than KELAZHUR, but it's a pretty awful trade there. Loses a lot of units, and KELAZHUR back into the driver's seat.
Yeah, very decisive play there for KELAZHUR, and I mean, not even losing the army supply advantage either. Actually, almost doubling that of KELAZHUR right now. The worker count's looking pretty healthy for him as well. He's got his third base flying over right now also, so that is just full winds blazing in the sails of KELAZHUR. To bring back the naval analogies. Man, yeah, KELAZHUR, I'm a little bit sorry for him, but yeah, I think we're just gonna have to see another one of those doom drops again, kind of work out for him here, because other than that, there's not much going his way.
Yeah, the tank count is better. KELAZHUR just has more stuff. He didn't lose. Again, it was 5 tanks with that push from KELAZHUR that all got cleaned up. Like, he had a massive army actually, but because it all died, it ended up really hurting him. As you know, KELAZHUR now establishes his third. They're kind of back onto even footing worker-wise. I think the only real break here for KELAZHUR is the fact that he did start his +2 armor a lot sooner than KELAZHUR. So of course that's gonna, you know, make his life a whole lot easier, and those bio trades should go his way. He also starts his +1 weapons attack sooner, so you know, if the upgrades are allowed to come through eventually, that will mean that he'll trade better. But I don't think KELAZHUR's gonna wait that long, and KELAZHUR's actually gonna push out here. This is very aggressive. I think he sees the army and decides, okay, no, I cannot afford to push out here. He just has too much.
Yeah, I mean, KELAZHUR still with what, 30 extra supply available. That's a lot. And he is trying to use that muscle here to find himself a position where he can lay siege to a valuable place of KELAZHUR. Struggling a little bit here. Great army positioning so far for KELAZHUR. Really aware of the movement of KELAZHUR, continuously scanning. And, ooh, that's a bit of an overstep.
Oh my god, KELAZHUR's going for this!
No way.
What? Oh no, KELAZHUR, don't! KELAZHUR didn't need to re-engage there. Had the great initial engage off of it. And actually also cleaned up the Vikings, so stepped a little bit over his bounds there. Lost a few more Marines they need to, but he still ends up winning the trade. And, that does start to slow down that army difference. And, of course, the +2 armor now kicking in. Marines do trade better for him. His +1 weapon is going to finish up soon. Kira has to back up, and it was a bit sketchy there when KELAZHUR tried to go in himself, but he ends up holding.
Yeah. I like the +3/+3 though. Still going for that, making that investment right now. And that might carry on a little bit longer. Ooh, never mind. Kill already starting it up as well now.
Mostly the armor. The length and the time in the armor upgrades is going to be the biggest difference between them. Also, KELAZHUR is investing in the weapons attacks. And mind you, +2 tanks, they one-shot Marines. So, if KELAZHUR is allowed to get that +2 weapons attack up, it can just be very, very effective for him. He just finds a great position here. Oh my god, Kira was completely out of place, and now 3 tanks gonna immediately shut down one of Kira's, and it's so hard to push into this. He's gonna lose so many Marines.
Still does okay, and will be able to clean up the siege tank though. Has his own siege tanks lined up as well. He does deal with it, losing 6 SCVs only. Army supply.
It loses that natural base.
But, oh yeah, he does. Wow, okay, flies over his main base.
The nice thing here for KELAZHUR is that does even up the army supply. It gets rid of, a few of the tanks. Of course, his were also lost there. It just makes it a bit more even, and now he does need to hold here. He has more Marines, so he just needs to pull back from the tanks, and yep, once again, wins the trade out. He kills the Marines. Unfortunately, one of his tanks is in range and does end up getting shelled down. He is closing this army supply gap. The biggest difference right now is that he has the lower tank count, and he's not really able to catch up because he's continually trading out his tanks for the army supply of Kira. Has to cancel the 4th. But KELAZHUR, I think he's gotten this into an even position, and you now see Kira, he's only on 2 bases.
Yeah, had to fly his main base over to the 3 o'clock right there. Oh, this could be a good stim underneath all the medevacts as well as those Vikings. Does not go in further against those siege tanks though, and keeps all his Marines alive. Great pickup right there, and KELAZHUR now actually ahead in army supply. A little bit. A slight slither.
Yeah, it's even. Of course, he isn't mining more because his main base is almost mined out. His natural is getting there, but he's still, in the long run, this is better for him because Kira only has 2 CCs at the current moment. He hasn't been able to build more. He's been having to focus all of it on just getting his units out. And even then, he doesn't have his tank upgrades. So even though Kira has more tanks, his tanks are doing just much less damage because they don't have the +1 attack, and it's +3 versus +3. So KELAZHUR's tanks will just win, even in smaller numbers, especially with him getting +3 weapons attack on them. The longer that KELAZHUR draws this out, the better that it gets because his tanks will just do more. They already one-shot all of Kira's Marines while his take 2 die. This is just a really, really... I think KELAZHUR's turned this into a really, really good spot for him.
Yeah, the air dominance though is still a little bit in favor, I believe, for Kira, especially with those liberators, right? That's a good way for him to kind of counteract the siege tank advantage that KELAZHUR has. If he manages to just kind of take them out of the equation and force them to back up with the liberator zones, then that could be a great way for him to kind of maintain.
Oh my, KELAZHUR. He's going to try and drop these tanks in position, get scanned, says, okay, never mind, we're not going to do that. They're going to drop them around here, trying to see if he can siege up any pox shots out. Not going to do so, but he's also behind this getting up his own 4th base. So KELAZHUR, he's fine not getting damage here because he's on full 4 bases. He can float over his main to get a 5th up, and he's going to be perfectly fine with that as a few. SCV is going to drop down there, but should be cleaned up. And right now, KELAZHUR just posturing around Kira's base. He's keeping him, he's keeping him in, and eventually he'll be able to catch up in the air army as well. This is being very, very well played.
Yeah, both of them extremely careful. It's a very important match. Big group. Okay, well.
What?
I know you too well, KELAZHUR. That is. Off he goes.
There's 2 sensor towers, though.
If he bunches them up, it looks like 1 medevac, right?
True, but he's also like, I guess this push here at the front is meant to distract, but that you can see. Kira's already there. This is so risky.
The scan is just like, all right, well, that's not much, is it? What are you doing?
I would have preferred if he had sent that into the main. If he sent the medevacs the way that that small army went, then had that small group go and poke around that fourth base. I think that could have been very, very interesting. Although Kier might get caught out here. Kier gets dived on. He's not sieged. Kier loses a ton of his army. He was ahead, but that is suddenly evened up, and that's a massive loss for Kier as he doesn't even clean up the army on the other side as well. Loses both of his medevacs. The tanks are still up. Looking at the Vikings, but still, those are getting some good trades.
Yeah, KELAZHUR getting ready for another fight on the right side. He knows that front is a little bit weaker now. Whereas Kier trying to find those medevacs still in transit when all of the siege tanks were sieged up. I don't think KELAZHUR really has any business pushing into this though.
Got +3! His tanks have +3. They just win this trade. I mean, you can see the difference there in the upgrades and the tanks. They just, normally it takes 3 shots for Kier's to deal with KELAZHUR's. It takes 2 at that for KELAZHUR to just blow up the tank line of Kier. Now he's got this amazing position. He has, the Viking in position. This upgrade difference is starting to come through because again, while Kier had more tanks, they just don't trade as efficiently, and they didn't kill the Marines as fast, so that allowed KELAZHUR's tanks to get sieged. And now this base has to lift up, and it's just deciding to pull the trigger on a trade across the map.
Well, let's see if that is gonna work out for him. He's dangerously close to that sensor tower. I wonder if he's just gonna run straight through that. Maybe cause KELAZHUR to panic a little bit as well. Push away again with those sources on the right side. We don't know. Let's give him time to siege up 3 siege tanks here.
And
oh, look at that damage. It's not enough, but buffs it out a little bit. He's gonna lose 2 bases of worth of mining here potentially. With this move from Kier, that is massive.
Oh, KELAZHUR on the other side has Marines with these tanks. He's going to siege him on the high ground, and now he has a wonderful position to attack this base from Kier. And this was almost all of Kier's mining. He has 1 more base that he got up as a 5th on the other side. Again, this is a lot more damage to Kier. And KELAZHUR is getting dealt because he still has that planetary there. It can trade well against Marines. He can repair it. Oh my god, Kier has so many tanks.
Yeah.
If Kier had +3 weapons, or if Kier had +3 on his tanks, he would, I feel like he would just run over these armies, but he doesn't.
A lot of SCVs still kind of stuck there. Kier will let them be for the time being. Sending out a big drop here. He's trying to find the back line of the siege tanks, it looks like.
No way. No way. No way! Oh, Kier, he's coming in!
2-side attack. SCV's coming from the other side as well. He will clean this up, it looks like.
Oh, it's so much damage, though. The tanks, again, they just one-shot, and now the follow-up. KELAZHUR's coming in. Again, there's only 1 tank here for Kier. And again, it does not one-shot those Marines unless they're dealt damage. KELAZHUR's gonna push through. KELAZHUR's gonna try and end the game here. He has less army, but he found the position. Kier on the other side gonna go for the base race. He's gonna try and get right on into the natural. KELAZHUR needs to. Oh no! Can siege the tanks, KELAZHUR? Oh! Could have held that ramp.
He's gonna try to make it work in a different way. He's in a worse position as Kier, I would say, as Kier in the main base here, on top of all the production. Although there is still more mining for KELAZHUR going on. Not really a good way to spend it. Ooh, those liberators, those could be massive.
Yeah, KELAZHUR there, if he had brought up the supply depots, if he had sieged his tanks, he could have held the ramp. He could have completely dealt with this army. That would have won him the game, but I think he just fumbled it a bit, F2'd his army back. That means that Kier now, with the bigger army, it doesn't get cleaned up. He doesn't hold the ramp. He's going to drop right on top of the tanks, though, try and clear this up. KELAZHUR trying to make the plays, clears up that 1 army, but now the 3rd base that he had, the only mining base, all of the SCVs getting cleaned up. It will just even out the worker count, though, as KELAZHUR pushing back these armies incredibly close. Again, that little blunder with the siege tanks at the top of the ramp means that KELAZHUR, if he had cleaned up that army in his main, this game would be over, I think. He could have held that base. I don't know what Kier could have done.
Yeah, it definitely would have traded out a lot better there. I'm not sure, man. It's a rough position to say. KELAZHUR and Cure both still in this. I mean, just one misplay from either one of these players, and it goes into the other player's favor. It's just a battle of positioning. Who gets the siege tank shots and who doesn't, really, at this point in time.
Now, KELAZHUR does have more bases here. Again, he had more CCs to start with because he didn't have to float his main. So while Cure's only on 1 CC, the longer that Cure isn't able to push in here, the worse it gets because KELAZHUR already has retaken that base down at the 6 o'clock. Ari has now taken one again over at now 9 o'clock and still has the CC in his main. So this is going to be really hard. He has more tanks than Cure, and the siege here might be dangerous. There's so many Marines for Cure, but these shells are so dangerous. What?
GG is gold. Yeah, KELAZHUR there, just not quite being able to siege up in time. So that's just Marine numbers overwhelming and taking out a big portion of KELAZHUR's force there.
Oh, and that's it. Lost. Oh.